In the fall of 1982, the Tylenol murders took the lives of 7 people in the Chicago area and changed how Americans viewed everyday medicine. The victims were ordinary people going about ordinary days, and that is part of what made the case so horrifying. There was no warning, no obvious connection between them, and no reason to suspect a common bottle of medicine could be deadly. Introducing the victims as people. The first victim identified was 12-year-old Mary Kellerman, a 6th grader from Elk Grove Village who had stayed home from school because she felt sick with what seemed like a minor illness. Her parents gave her a Tylenol capsule to ease her symptoms, not knowing the bottle had been tampered with. Then came the Janis family tragedy. Adam Janis, a 27-year-old postal worker in Arlington Heights, took Tylenol after coming home from work.
He died soon after, and when his family gathered in grief, his brother Stanley, 25, and sister-in-law Teresa, 19, both took capsules from the same bottle and also died. 3 more victims followed in the next days. Mary McFarland, a 31-year-old phone company employee, Mary Reiner, a 27-year-old new mother from Winfield, and Paula Prince, a 35-year-old flight attendant in Chicago. Each of them was an individual with a life, a routine, and people who loved them, and each was suddenly gone because of a product they expected to be safe. 2. Their last known movements and the day things changed. The chain of events began on September 28 and 29, 1982, when unopened bottles of extra-strength Tylenol were purchased and later found to contain capsules laced with cyanide. Mary Kellerman was homesick when she took 1 capsule and collapsed not long after. On September 29th, the Janis family's pain became the turning point in the case. Adam Janis took Tylenol, died, and then the bottle he had used was unknowingly shared during the family's gathering after his death. That horrific sequence made investigators realize they were not dealing with isolated medical emergencies. Over the next few days, the pattern widened as more victims were identified across the Chicago suburbs and city. By then, investigators were seeing a frightening public health and criminal emergency unfold at the same time. 3. What was discovered and how the case unfolded. Doctors and investigators determined that the victims had ingested cyanide through Tylenol capsules, and the poisoning was tied to tampered bottles rather than contamination at a factory. The pills were found to have been altered after leaving the manufacturer, which immediately shifted the case into one of the largest product tampering investigations in U.S. history. The response was fast and sweeping.
Public warnings were issued telling people not to take Tylenol, and the product was pulled from shelves nationwide. The panic spread well beyond Chicago because the threat appeared random and invisible. Any bottle could have been compromised. Investigators examined retail distribution, purchase locations, and the chain of custody for the bottles connected to the victims. The case became a massive multi-agency effort, and it also reshaped public safety standards, ultimately leading to tamper-resistant packaging for over-the-counter medicines. 4. The investigation, obstacles, and why it went cold. The investigation was complicated by the fact that the poisonings happened after the bottles were already in consumers' hands, leaving a very wide field of possibilities. There was no clean crime scene in the usual sense, only multiple homes, stores, and a product that had passed through many hands. A major obstacle was the lack of direct physical evidence tying a single person to all 7 deaths. The bottles had been purchased separately, the tampering could have happened in different places, and the suspect pool was enormous. Even though investigators pursued multiple leads over the years, no one was ever charged in the murders. The case also became tangled with public suspicion, false leads, and shifting theories over time. One name that continued to surface was James Lewis, who was long regarded as a suspect. But even with years of scrutiny, the case never reached a courtroom resolution for the murders. Lewis died in 2023, and the deaths remained officially unsolved. 5. The case status today and what remains unknown. Today, the Tylenol murders remain one of America's most notorious unsolved cases.
The key facts are clear. 7 people died after taking cyanide-laced Tylenol capsules in the Chicago area in 1982, but the person who tampered with the bottles was never definitively identified in a way that led to charges. What remains unknown is still the heart of the mystery. Who did this? How exactly the bottles were tampered with? And whether the poisoner acted alone. The case continues to be discussed because it sits at the intersection of tragedy, fear, and public safety, and because it changed everyday packaging across the country while leaving the core crime unresolved. And maybe that is why this case still lingers after all these years. Not just because of what happened, but because of how ordinary the beginning was. What do you think stands out more in this case? The failure to identify who did it, or the fact that a common household medicine became the center of one of the most haunting mysteries in American history?